Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to We Are Movie Club. This is the Saturday Hangout. I am Kamurai. I am a programmer by day, YouTuber by night, and a game designer whenever I can damn well get to it. Normally, we've got a couple people here, but today it's me and my lonesome, and that's okay. Power of Tesla and the power of the internet. We're going to bring you some video vlogging stuff about movies and such. Because occasionally we do talk about movies here, though we do like to catch up and have odd conversations about this and that. Um, I'd like to start today kind of going over some of the new movies that I managed to catch over the past week, which was a nice treat to see something that's actually new in theaters and whatnot. Instead of just Netflix movies. Though I am a fan of serialized content like Hulu and Amazon Instant Prime. I do plan on talking about that at some point because I had a fun experience with that this week as well. So let's start with the comedies that I managed to see. I did manage to see Neighbors. Neighbors was supposed to be this huge thing. Everyone was excited that Zac Efron was back in it. Seth Rogen draws a lot of eyes to his name. I gotta say, I wasn't overly impressed with it. The thing is that they had hyped it up where they were like it's going to be better than the next American Pie. Where I thought it was kind of equivalent, but mixing those two things I think is inherently abrasive. It's not very cohesive to have like the frat party stupid humor with the middle-aged parents motif. They seem contradictory a lot, and that was supposed to be the big joke, is that, oh, you've got these guys living next to these guys, that would never happen. Oh, and now they're having conflicts of interest and troubles and such, and I get the idea that they were going for, and it's a good idea. They had the good cast for it, and they had a good script, and a decent execution. I think the concept itself is funnier on paper than when you actually deliver it. Um, it's it just wasn't really a huge thing for me to go and see that and come out of it. Though I was super excited about the airbag pranks because I don't know why they put it in the trailer, but they did, where Seth Rogen like sits on a couch, and then all of a sudden he's rocketed across the room, but he goes off camera. When they show it in the movie, oh my god, that's friggin' terrible, because they actually like cut and they show him do the tumble, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looked like it actually hurt Seth. Because the first couple are just ridiculous. I mean, like there's ceiling tiles involved, um, and the fact that someone like would vandalize your car and steal your airbags, and then you still wouldn't go to the police, however useless they might be in general. I can't imagine that like you wouldn't do that just because don't ever call here again. Like what? You're gonna come here and beat us because we called you because we were concerned for our health and safety? It's just stupid. It's a bad premise for a lot of what goes on, because I guess the only way they thought they could think of the conflict to continue is that the police weren't involved. Because honestly, it's the authorities getting involved that becomes the big third act. Let's say. No, don't do that. I apologize, had some severe technical difficulties there, and I'm back, however, temporarily on this camera, so I will try to get the other camera back up. I really can't believe that happened. It looks like I lost video now. Google's done this before where the Hangout just starts crashing, and it turned out last time that we were in a maintenance window, so hopefully I can get back in here, and it looks like it, so give us just a second. And it looks like I'm back, so I'm actually going to get out of that other one. There, now we just have me on this camera. So, yay. Okay, so continuing what we were talking about with Neighbors, it's when the authorities get involved that we end up in that big, I don't know what you call it, conflict and everything when the police get involved, and that's what wraps it up for us. I don't know, I didn't think it was really that triumphant a thing, but the movie gets really dark, which is kind of interesting at points, and there's this interesting self-reflection between being a young partygoer and person transforming into a middle-aged parent motif. So there's that transition, which I'm sure is ever present, so maybe it doesn't relate to me because I'm really neither of those things, and if you are, maybe this is a movie for you to check out. I'm not sure. What I did think was a lot funnier was Walk of Shame. Was really shocked and surprised at where that movie went, but it's Elizabeth Banks, who is always funny, always good, and I really like her. She showed up on Modern Family a couple times recently here as well. So like really enjoying that. But it's a whole movie where she plays a newscaster who her life kind of falls to shit. She thinks she doesn't get this job, and then so she goes out and she has a celebratory like last night on Earth type party with her girlfriends, and she even trades her dresses with the slutty girl. So she's in this outfit she would never wear because she's a good girl, and it's kind of hilarious just in the build-up of everything. And then she goes and she has that random hookup, and then she gets the call that she has the job if she can just get to work, which isn't true. She's just trying to get home. That's what it is. But her car gets towed. She ends up getting locked out of the place. She doesn't know where she was that she just hooked up with this guy. So she's just trying to walk, I think, across L.A. to try to get to work. And it turns out if she can get there in time, then the network will see her. And it's really well put together. Each stage of the story works upon itself, and it builds on itself, and it refers back to itself, and it's really that the end ends up being this weird compilation of everything else that's happened in the movie, and it's really good. I want to see that structure in another movie. I don't know what movie would really work for it, but Walk of Shame was just so funny. There's a lot of kind of racist or gang or drug related stuff that happens. A lot of you should judge a book by its cover type stuff, which helps keep you on your toes. Because the more you're guessing, or the more you can't tell what's about to happen, typically the more you enjoy a movie. Because that's when it gets boring. It's like, oh, I've seen this before. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. And as long as you're like, well, are the gangbangers going to be the guys who save the day? The more that happens, the more likely you are to stay interested and invested, and really, I think it helps the movie out a lot. And of course, it helps immensely that Elizabeth Banks just looks good in that dress. I didn't think she really looked like a street-walking whore. If you're going to call her a hooker, I mean, I would at least think it would be like a first-class executive hooker or something. But I don't know. I have more problems with the title, the whole idea of the Walk of Shame. Why should she be ashamed that she went and had a good time last night? I'm not an advocate of drinking at all, but if You're going to drink, be responsible, have a good time. Don't do anything you wouldn't do if you were sober. Like if she did the things that she did sober, and like she hooked up with this guy and like had fun, and like as long as they both enjoyed it, both of us consensual, what's wrong with that? Um, so like the whole societal expectation of like, oh, she's a whore. Can't believe she did this. She's on her walk of shame. I don't get that. It's just not part of my life. It's not part of my culture, if you will. I don't get that. I don't subscribe to it. But I do think it's a good movie, and definitely one you should check out if you want to go and watch a comedy. I don't know if it's quite a date movie or not. It's not. It is a romantic comedy, but it's certainly not typical if that's what you're looking for. Okay, so let's move on to comic book stuff. Captain America, Winter Soldier. I was super excited for this because the more and more I get wind of Bucky in the comics or anywhere else, the more I kind of like it. I like that it's that sort of character, and as far as I can tell, they were fairly true to him in the movie as to the comics. They're gonna put him through stuff. They programmed him. He's been mind fucked here and there, to the point where like he can't trust anybody because he doesn't know what's real. And that whole moment with Cap in the movie where he's trying to get him to come to terms with maybe what's been happening to him, I really got to say that was very, very impressive to get that kind of acting. And from an actor who kind of said he doesn't want to act anymore. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. I believe it's John something. The guy who plays Captain America has kind of said that's gonna be his last role is Captain America, and eventually he's gonna come out of it. Dude's jacked. He looks really good for the role, and I think through the role, or maybe he's just that good an actor, he's found some kind of maturity. Because I thought he was perfect when he was Johnny Storm, because that kind of quip that he has on the fly like that is beautiful. And Captain America is someone that doesn't make jokes. He's jovial, he's friendly, he's charismatic, but it's so strange to hear Cap makes a joke. There's a new Avengers comic where they're all fighting as a team against this whole crazy situation, and Captain America makes a joke. And I think Spider-Man actually stops fighting for a full page just to be to point it out, be like, Cap made a funny. Cap made a funny. But that's Spider-Man. He is known for kind of doing the weird thing. But no, I think the action was really good. I obviously pulled the stops out for the budget on this. I don't ever remember there being more than one helicarrier, because that's supposed to be Shield Mobile Headquarters, is what the helicarrier is. And because it's so dangerous to have something like that in the sky, you don't do more than one of them. So the fact that we essentially had these 3 extra ones all set up specifically for it was really weird. And you'd think Shield would be better than it is, and I don't know how much this Hydra thing is loyal to the comics, but it was actually really well done. It was really well done not only in Winter Soldier but throughout Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I just wish they hadn't baited it for so long. Since episode 1 I was screaming Hydra! And I don't remember it being a World War II Nazi organization, but that fits that Hydra would use that to its advantage. The whole idea behind Hydra is that they gain intelligence, just kind of like S.H.I.E.L.D. does. They figure out where to move what, and they're always in the shadows. S.H.I.E.L.D. is supposed to be an international peacekeeping organization that is brave enough to go into the shadows themselves and do things. They've not clearly separated themselves from the U.S. government. A lot of times, they just look like another version of the FBI, but maybe that deals with superheroes, and maybe on an international scale that works. That's great. I'm happy for that. I can't wait to see what more they do with it. I want to see it change. I am kind of pissed that Coulson is now a director. No, Maria Hill was second in command. Maria Hill went to the U.S. government to try to stay in good standing and keep a face on S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson kept fighting, yeah, but they were one squad. There should be other squads. Romanoff's still active. Hawkeye's still active. There's other agents out there. There's other facilities and resources that SHIELD still has. SHIELD is a decent organization as long as the right people can get in front of that board of directors or whatever and let them know what's up. And that is Nick Fury, though I think they're pulling him out either to get Sam Jackson out of there or to build up for like Nick Fury's Secret War, because I would really like to see that too. But putting Coulson there is a good move if you keep it temporary, because there should be now a power struggle between Maria Hill and Coulson, and then Hill becomes the commander that nobody wants. That seems to be kind of her role in the comics, is that she's the person, when everything goes to pot, that strings things together and keeps it official and keeps it by protocol and keeps SHIELD winning. Whether or not it's like Fury would do it, because Coulson kind of runs things like Fury would do, even if that's not quite exactly what is what SHIELD needs to win to stay on top, but it's what they need to stay honorable. So I think there's going to be a good counterbalance between the two characters. As much as I was kind of upset Kobe Smulders was made to be Maria Hill, and I'm pretty sure she took the role with that kind of expectation that it would go that direction, but she should be director, if not now, by Age of Ultron. But that leads into a whole other discussion of the overall continuity, because not only is this bullshit with Tony Stark inventing Ultron fucked up, because it completely devalues Hank Pym for what little good he had as a character, but Fury should be the director for quite some time until, I don't know, somewhere around Disassembled, where the Avengers get turned on, which leads me to my next thing, because the whole thing with Disassembled and House of M and leading up to the New Avengers was based off the Scarlet Witch kind of losing her mind. So they brought in the Scarlet Witch now, which seems really early, especially when they could potentially use that to leverage a deal between the different studios, because right now Fox has X-Men and Sony has Spider-Man, or their franchises. So Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are technically X-Men property. But because of the way copyright works, and it's all bullshit anyways, but they're only part of that franchise as long as they're still considered mutants. So if you have the same character, and as long as you don't mention that they're actually mutants, apparently like Marvel can still use them. Which is all horseshit. Marvel never should have split up into individual franchises. That doesn't make any sense. DC's a franchise, Marvel's a franchise. There really needs to be some kind of interference between these three companies, that either they force continuity between the three franchises or they force a merge. And don't get me wrong, Fox and Sony should definitely get their money's worth out of it, but the weirdness that they're doing where they just, we're going to hang on to it. It doesn't work when they actually exist in other franchises. Like Attack on New York, Avengers 2, Attack on New York. What was going on with Spider-Man? Give me that movie. What was happening with Daredevil? Give me that movie. X-Men live in upstate New York, or Virginia? Oh, I don't remember. I was under the impression that they lived in like upstate New York, but so they may not have been involved, but Spider-Man's right there. He had involvement in that regardless of what you want to say. Fantastic Four, unless they're in another dimension, because that happens from time to time, they were in New York. I don't even know who has that franchise. Probably Sony. So anyways, the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are now being presented as experimentation that SHIELD was doing I don't know why SHIELD was doing it. SHIELD or Hydra. So they're going to use them as super weapons. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were hardly ever team players. They kind of worked in Brotherhood because they were Magneto's kids. Coming over to the Avengers was a big deal because they were not used to being the noble ones. They were not used to being the ones to work on a team and for the greater good. They're very self-centered characters, especially Scarlet Witch, even if she was the better person by the time she became an Avenger. Because Quicksilver was kind of always been a dick. I don't think he has the patience for people living in normal time. And then there's the whole business with their souls and such splitting out, and then like that's a whole other story that like, but it's important because by the time it gets up to New Avengers, Young Avengers, there's entire key characters, people that are based off those events, and we're breaking things left and right. The continuity issues in the first series of Marvel movies. And I wish Charlie was here today to talk about that because he's been venturing into it. That caused small breaks. They kept a continuity, but as soon as you start deleting things from the universe, adding things, changing things, okay. But when you start deleting events, you break things, and we're going to see that happen by Age of Ultron. It's just going to happen. We should have Ant-Man first. And then Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, I'm a little upset. I kind of like that Olsen's playing Scarlet Witch. I'll give you that. I'm excited to see her in more things because there's got to be a good Olsen sister. But that leads me into Spider-Man too. Spider-Man. Oh my God. Look, the first movie, the very first Spider-Man. Okay, I don't know why Tobey Maguire's playing Spider-Man, but okay, he got the role. They wanted him. They did a decent job. I liked that Goblin too. Not only is that actor, I can't remember his name. I'm really bad with actor names sometimes. But I actually like the suit. I like the tech. Even the origin story where like he tests on himself and makes himself into the Green Goblin with this kind of split schizophrenia in the mix. I like it. It made a lot of sense. And it kept Norman Osborn as the Goblin, which is how it should be. And then the second movie rolled around, and you got Doc Ock in there with a pretty intense storyline, and I really liked it. The third movie was ripe for success. You have Sandman, such a great villain in general, if you accept the suspension of disbelief. And throwing in Harry as kind of a competitor, as a pseudo Hobgoblin, I definitely like that. It's bullshit that Norman's dead at that point, and that no one brought him back to life somehow, or whatever you do with dead characters, because killing supervillains in comic book movies is not the best, because it leaves you with a saved world and heroes with nothing to do except become villains themselves, which would be an interesting way to take an independent movie, if anyone's listening. Let's see, what was I talking about? But they wasted Venom. They should have left him out and left the suit in with Spider-Man, because the black suit was kind of supposed to represent Spider-Man as an anti-hero. He was the hero that maybe didn't do exactly what he was supposed to be doing then. He was angry, he was bitter, and then when the suit found him, it lived off all that. So when he was with the symbiote, that was a beautiful, crazy time in the Spider-Man universe, and it gave birth to one of the most interesting characters ever, Venom. And that's how the third movie should have ended. He should have been using the symbiote suit most of the movie just to do it, and then in the movie with him getting rid of it, in the movie with it falling onto Eddie Brock. Maybe don't even show us Eddie Brock. Just some guy in the tower. That leaves casting open for the fourth movie. For a Venom movie, where Venom's the main character, not Spider-Man, where he kind of comes in as a support, that would have been beautiful, and that's what they should have done. And maybe not even immediately, but that concept just leaves it open for Venom to give birth to Carnage later on. In the same manner, where he gives birth to the Carnage and the red symbiote kind of just crawls into a prison, and that's how the movie ends. Maybe even with Cletus screaming that when the symbiote's attaching to him. And that leaves the opening later on for him to give birth to Toxin. You have 20 years of movies that people are afraid to lose because they're idiots when they're making these movies. Take your time. Plan the movies out. It's okay if you got to switch actors. When you put on the mask, that's who people are following. Everyone's upset about Affleck being Batman. It's almost not going to be Affleck in 5 years. It's going to be that guy who wore the suit. It was Batman. Christian Bale, the only thing that people are going to remember about him being Batman is, I'm Batman, and I have a raspy voice. Because he kind of went over the top with it to make himself distinctive, which is fine. But you think back, Clooney, like, you don't remember him because his face is covered. You remember Batman. Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer. It's all great actors, all got the chance to put on the suit. I remember Batman. That's who I remember. Now, Joker is a little bit of a different story because you remember Jack Nicholson. He was funny. He had a silly side to Joker, but his face was exposed. It was his face that left the personality there. Heath Ledger had the same thing going on. As soon as they do a Joker who puts on a clown mask, however thin that mask is, that actor's going to stop being himself and start being the Joker in that thing because people won't remember him. There's definitely a downside to wearing a mask when you're on camera. But swinging it back to Spider-Man, that's in my mind that's how it should have gone. And supposedly they're going to do that with this reboot. So this reboot wasn't necessary, but I could see what they're doing, and they're afraid to have a dissociation with an actor and a character because Andrew Garfield is a better Peter Parker, but Spider-Man's still Spider-Man in the suit. You can't get around it. You can't get over it. Oh well. I like Andrew Garfield. I don't like most of what else they're doing. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, nice touch, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the first movie, I don't know. I had a lot of problems with it. Mostly that they shot Spider-Man. The spider sense is a huge thing with Spider-Man, more than like his super strength, because he's strong. He's not. I don't even think he's Captain America strong. Like he can hold it. He can catch a car. I don't know if he can actually just pick one up though. Like even Cap, I think, would have struggles with that. He regenerates just a tiny bit. He heals faster than normal. That's how he can run around with broken bones and stuff and still kind of get by. Of course, he webs them up because he's smart like that. So he maintains the fracture in his body. They're kind of making him smarter this time around. I do like that about Peter Parker this time around. Is he's just a tad bit smarter. What was I going to say? The villain in the first one was the Lizard. I can't say I don't like what they did with him, with the Lizard. I like the Lizard as a concept, except he really just comes down to a crazy person. Connors is smart as Connors, but once he kind of becomes a Lizard, I lose kind of some respect for him. But he is mutated. He's not a guy in a suit or whatever. Which, leading into the second movie, we open up with Paul Giamatti kind of robbing a armored car or something. He later gets picked to be Rhino, and the Rhino suit in that, probably my favorite part of the movie, honestly, a second favorite part of the movie. It's this big mechanical suit. They even gave him machine guns, which I thought was kind of unnecessary, especially since he's there to run amok, and then he stands on the street, and there's just a whole crowd of people to like 20 feet to his left when he's firing machine guns at police officers. Just a little bit to the left, and he would have killed a bunch of people, and maybe that's what he would have done. But it was all set up for this really stupid, dramatic shot that they wanted, and they're going to do what they want to do. But that leads me to, there's so many things, because like my biggest problem with the first movie was that someone actually managed to shoot Spider-Man. It was like electro bullets, but Spidey sense, he's going to do it. He got beat up a lot in the second movie in very similar things. I think they paid a little bit more attention to maybe where he was webbing to, but the web shooters aren't electronic, so I don't know why they fried. Originally they were just like you tap this pad and like it put pressure and then you had little cartridges. I get maybe upgrading it to like electronic sensor. Maybe that would make sense. Maybe we keep it modern. Okay, so I talked myself around that one. So magnetizing still doesn't make sense because if you know anything about electricity and electronics, typically when you magnetize something, it fucks up all the currents and stuff, which is the same thing that the electricity's doing. I have to admit, I liked Jamie Foxx's Max Dillon. I think they changed his character because I don't think he was a scientist in the comics. I think he was just this two-bit crook that happened to across whatever made him all electric. But we got kind of a Dr. Manhattan thing going on. I think somebody watched Watchmen. It was like, let's have that. And it was a really stupid idea because it kind of took away from Jamie Foxx as the actor when I really would have preferred that. Because Electro is a nominal villain. He's not the smartest guy, but he does some dastardly stuff. He can escape through power lines. It's pretty cool. What he can't do is phase shift all over the place like Dr. Manhattan. No. I don't know who got that idea. And then when you shoot electricity... Okay, if you're going to... Suspension of disbelief. If you're going to accept that someone can shoot electricity, the electricity has to behave somewhat normally. Like, it has to leave his hands, have a target, and run there. And then go to the place wherever it's got the opposing charge built up, which you can do just by, if like my hand was electric and I just was running electricity, eventually it's going to start charging enough atoms in the air that the air is actually going to charge, and eventually something in the room is going to get a charge where where it's going to want to dissipate to that. No, they used it like force beams, like not quite telekinetics, but where they're like he's shooting, I don't know, like almost like he's shooting fire instead of electricity, because fire is a physical object when it comes down to it. So like really was disappointed with that. Harry becoming the Green Goblin was a mistake because you can't undo that. You can't, or maybe you can. But it's extra work to revitalize Norman Osborn to become the real Green Goblin. Not putting him in a suit was a mistake, I thought. Because the old Green Goblin, like he had that cool flip-up mask, which is not contiguous with the comics. Like he pulls on this rubber mask thing, and he's the Green Goblin. And this time, like, there's no getting around it. Harry Osborn is the Green Goblin. He's always a mutant-looking freak, and that doesn't work. I don't see how that can happen. Norman Osborn was infamous for running Oscorp and being a supervillain for like the longest time. And it's poor that you do that to a character and not give him credit as a character. It's really is a shame. So there's so many things they could have done better with that, and they verged. They didn't quite overdo the villains because Rhino being in as much as he was. Fine. It's almost like they wanted Sandman again, but they wanted to use Electro instead and have the Dr. Manhattan-ish thing going on with Electro, so they could have done him a lot better. And I think if they had simply just done the first Green Goblin in this movie, it would have been great. That part would have been perfect. But we got this weird mutant thing. But Harry's got to return to the shadows now because he can't show anybody his face. And run Oscorp and get all these suits, because I don't even remember this is really how the suits came about, but we're setting up for the Sinister Six, which is going to be awesome. I would only hope that we get a movie for each of the characters, like give Rhino his own movie, give Shocker his own movie, give Vulture his own movie even. There's the only three I can remember offhand. Scorpion, give Scorpion to be awesome. And I don't remember if the Green Goblin counts as one of the six or not. It's been a while. But there are some very good things we can do for that. I wish they would open up their fucking eyes. But these are the same people who are refusing to cooperate with the other studios. But they wish they'd wake up and see what's good for the audience. Because what's good for the audience is going to be good for the business. And living up to the responsibility of providing the entertainment the way that your company's designed to do is what they're supposed to be doing. It's the best thing for everyone. Especially like we get into the economics of how much movies cost to make and cost to watch and all that ridiculous nature. Uh, but I am excited for the Venom movie. I'm excited for the Sinister Six movie. I think we've got Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4 around or in between those somehow at some point. But I think it'll be a good time in the end. And I think Spider-Man 2 will be a better movie in retrospect once we have these other the end and the beginning to compare to the middle. I think it's a good bridge. Which I have almost the exact same thing to say about season 2 of Red vs. Blue, because that was our pick for the week on We Are Movie Club. Charlie was the biggest fan, but I'm going to continue to torture him for a few more seasons. And it's a good time. I don't understand what people's problem is with season 1, unless they just get in their head like, I'm watching a video game, I can't enjoy this, and then you're ruining it for yourself. Yes, there are jokes that they made while they're playing Halo, and there are a significant amount of that in Season 1. Season 2 lacks a little bit of the funny because they're starting to build this story. And Season 3 really gets into probably a good balance of both. We get into a lot of good funny with characters that hopefully you've enjoyed and they've built, along with the semi-decent storyline. And then we bleed into 4 and 5, where that storyline kind of continues and wraps up a little bit as we're exploring different maps and different technologies as the Halo 2 and Halo 3 comes out, and maybe even ODST at some point. Probably not, just because the Spartan outfits are not contiguous for that one. But eventually we even get into Halo Reach, but I think by that point we're into Season 6, and that's where this really kicks off, and that's where I really wanted to start it. But if you don't go through Blood Gulch Chronicles, I think you're missing out on things. So we're going to go through and do that, and I think Season 6 will be the winner. That'll get Charlie on board, if nothing else, because it's great, and if you can just pay attention to it as a story, it's fantastic. But the delivery is important. It's like telling a joke. It's like I can tell you a good joke that has funny elements and everything, but if I don't deliver it correctly, you're probably not going to enjoy it all that much. It's just the fact of it. I think there's a lot of things good coming that way, and I think there's good things in the Marvel and Spider-Man franchises coming our way. But we've just had so many good movies come out lately that like I figured it was time to try a couple of them, because we just hit this dead air of movie releases in the past year, and it's finally starting to come around, and we're leading towards summer, so maybe that's part of it too. So we're getting that, and we're finally starting. I think it's going to make a good DVD release later on. But I've been kind of returning to series lately. So, like, I had watched one Charlie suggested, Not Going Out, which was a good British television show. Not good enough that, like, I cared about watching everything. Like, I fell asleep, and I'd go back, try to find my place, and just kind of continue watching. But I've been complaining about Amazon Instant Prime because I haven't utilized it. I paid my due for Amazon for, like, a year, and without really knowing it. And then I wasn't that upset because I was like, oh, I'll make use of this at some point. I'll get my money's worth. There's such an odd selection. Being a member of Netflix, being a member of Hulu, and now Amazon Instant Prime, I'm very confused at like what I need to do with what. What I am thankful for is that I got to see Defiance. Now, Defiance, if you're not aware, is also a video game. The idea is such a great concept. Was to release this sandbox out onto the internet where you could join the game, you could play the game, and the game wouldn't be just a standard MMO where you just play through these static storylines. It would be an interactive experience, which is how I want to run some of my games when I get to those projects, because it'll be a while. But that's how I want them to be living environments. And that's what Defiance was supposed to be. Where I think they fucked up was trying to get it advertised properly. They made a show with it, and they wanted to make the game and the show reflect each other, where if you played the game, you could actually affect things that would happen in the show, and things in the show would become events in the game that you could respond to. Uh, have a singular story. I have one static storyline that goes through your game. Have that reflect in the show. Great, because it's a fantastic show. Definitely go watch Defiance. Give it a shot if you're into sci-fi at all. There's not like a great variety of aliens. There's, let's see, an ape guy, like a little hairy goblin guy, a bunch of pale people, and these cat-like people called the Arathis. So, and then the Vulge. And they don't explain a lot of shit. You're just kind of thrown into this world, and you're like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. But if you just stick with it, everything happens pretty sensibly. Like you get, oh, that's a hate. Okay, so that's what the pale people are. And you get caught up pretty quick. And there's some very interesting things building up towards the end of the first season. And I can't wait for season 2 because that's going to be some very interesting things happening. Very excited for it. After watching Fallen Skies, which I'm very excited to catch the next season when the discs come out, this kind of gave me a stopover for a sci-fi series. I don't know if drama is the right word, but I don't know, probably. It's got plenty of action, but it's not really a comedy. It's more of a drama. And I want to get back to watching Revolution. I actually miss that show, but I can't ever find where the episodes are to get caught up from where I last watched, because I don't want to miss too much, because that is a show where like the details kind of make the story. But I want to get back to watching that for sure. Let's see. Oh yeah. Thank you again, Charlie, for mentioning it. But there's a half British, half American show called Episodes. Matt LeBlanc's part of it. I caught commercials for it a while back because it was just hilarious to see Matt LeBlanc there, because he's playing himself, or portrayal of himself, very similar to how Vanderbeek played in Don't Trust the Bitch in Apartment 23. He's playing kind of this funny portrayal of himself. Essentially like Matt LeBlanc as if he was Joey in real life. I don't know, maybe he is that way, I'm not sure. But I thought it was a funny portrayal of him. And it's very interesting to see that way. So it's definitely funny. I've watched the first season so far because it fits on one disc, which is kind of funny because they kind of poke the fun of that, because they're talking about like English series, their seasons are only like 6 episodes long. Sometimes they're like hour-long shows or more, but they're very short seasons, possibly with longer shows, where Americans do little 20-minute, half-hour shows, but they make like 13, 24 episodes per season. It's ridiculous. So like they made a joke about 4 seasons being one season here, 4 seasons in the UK or 1 season in the US, and thinking back on a couple of them, it is kind of like that. It's very funny, especially since Episodes, season 1 fits on one disc, so it looks like seasons 1 through 4 you could actually compile up and put on one disc set, whereas normally, like for American shows, not only they put all that extra crap in there, but you look at like first season Friends was like 4 discs, 3 discs and a bonus disc, but and that was probably 6 episodes a disc, so about 6 to 8 episodes a disc, so 18 to 24 episodes per disc or per season. But I don't know if Friends is a good counterweight to compare anything to. I mean, that thing ran 10, 11 seasons, if you can count Joey, which was a nice joke they managed to put in there, because one of the producers was talking to Matt LeBlanc, is like I mean, Friends lasted, or like this has been it's good for you to get back to work after Friends, and like he's like, yeah, and Captain Subtext says, because because I didn't have a whole show named after myself. Yeah, that didn't happen. but they're incorporating a bunch of stuff, and very happy with the show so far. I'm happy to continue watching it. But I'm hoping to get back to playing a little bit of Minecraft. I was playing with a couple friends today. I've got to go deal with something here in a bit. And then hopefully maybe tonight we can get back to it. That would be nice. And I'm really enjoying using Minecraft as a tool. I'm trying to play with it kind of slow. It's why we were doing bad summaries. They're little 1-minute summary shows using Minecraft as kind of a machinima engine. And I plan on doing more exciting things with it, kind of like we did for the Zombieland one. I got this great idea for a rolling cam using minecarts, but it takes some time to set that up, and you got to have an idea ahead of it, and I'll get there. We'll get there. But I want to get doing more of that. I want to get doing more of that for Gaming Division, and I want to get back to playing some single-player stuff for Gaming Division, because part of the excuse there was that would let me play video games and still do YouTube type stuff, and stop worrying about doing all the high production stuff for movie reviews, because for me, at least, I don't just turn on the camera and bookend my editing. I actually try to put in a little bit of quality where I can and do some editing to get some stuff in there. Whether it's necessary or not, my format requires a little bit of editing, so it takes a little bit longer for me to do a movie review than for me to just line up a shot and do some machinima or gameplay footage. But I'm looking forward to more and more than that, and I'm really looking forward to upcoming How to Play for Guillotine, which is a great little card game. But I've got some things pressing. If I'm the only one here yakking and jacking to myself, then so be it. Thank you for sticking through us with any technical difficulties in the beginning of the thing. Hopefully next week Charlie will be back, not schmoozing it up. If I remember right, he went to... Oh, I know what he's doing. He's going to meet people that he's going to go to Frogland with. Something about racing cars. I don't know. Hopefully he'll be able to explain next week and make fun of me more, because I missed that. Charlie missed you. Anyone else watching, if you want to get involved, talk about movies on here with me or Charlie or anyone else, do your movie review. Every week we put out a pick on Fridays on the channel, youtube.com/WeAreMovieClub. Just do a movie review, include the hashtag WeAreMovieClub. Hopefully we'll find it. Be honest, it's been hard to be motivated to actually look for things when it's just been a couple of us. So yell at me on Twitter at Kamurai25, or yell at all of us at WeAreMovieClub on the Twitters. And let us know you want to get involved and be part of this. Come online with us on Saturdays. We may switch this to Fridays if that works better for Charlie or anyone else who wants to get involved. Nothing is truly set in stone other than trying to build us up, make us better, and doing what is best for the project. But I think that's going to be it for me today. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for all the video time, and just enjoy your day. Thanks for watching.